The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Hey, good morning, and welcome to a Tuesday edition of the Morning Drive with Jeff McGuire, who's in for Jamie Lent, and Brennan Riker, who's in for Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. It's great to have you with us today on what they call Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. So if you have to effort it today, we are interested in your thoughts and comments, even if you don't, on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. We come to you from the First United Bank Studios in downtown Lubbock, and look forward to hearing from you today on the Visual Edge IT hotline. That number is 806-771-0973. Well, in my misspent youth in high school and college, I worked the day after Christmas. Usually I was dealing with people that were returning things. Are you going to return anything to me today? Because I generally, at your friendly Overland Park Kmart, was in charge of the refund center.
I don't think I'm returning anything to you, Chuck. I don't think you gave me anything that needed to be returned. So
I set you up for that. So
you did.
You hit that over the wall.
I'm just I'm sitting here thinking, no, we didn't do gifts this year, which it's partially my fault too, because I didn't get anybody a gift either. But no, Christmas was good, so you got to keep all of your gifts this year. You
get to keep all of your gifts. I was wondering on my way in this morning how that works now. Does the UPS guy, does the Amazon truck guy, does the FedEx guy, do they come to your house and pick up the broken toys or the clothes that don't fit, or the wonky thing that just whether it's the laptop or electronic game or the missing screw from a bicycle? Do they come by and pick those things up and take them back to the spot?
Well, most of the games now are just a digital copy, so you just download it and then you get your money back directly from them. Mm-hmm. So you have to worry about sending that back. Clothes. I'm not one to order clothes online.
I am right there with you.
And God bless the people that can, because I don't trust my size enough in different manufacturers to do that.
Mine is fluctuating.
Yeah, it's not even that it's like. One, there's one group of shirts that I have to get like one size bigger because they're cut small.
Right.
And there's one group of size, and almost everybody else is a different size. It's just safer for me to try it on first before I buy it for everyone involved.
Right.
But if you can order clothes online and you don't have to worry about sending them back, God bless you, because I can't.
I'm more of a shop, in the store kind of guy, and I like to exchange pleasantries with people, and that way,
we've heard that about you.
If it has to go back, it has to go back. But yeah, no, that's what I did. That's what I did in the 80s, the early 80s and the late 70s. Is I was the refund guy. We had a refund center set up at your friendly Overland Park Kmart, and basically people would come in droves, complaining about something. And the last 2 years that I did it, I had this attitude of, we're just going to give you your money back. And I would call up to the cash cage. I need some more cash.
I bet they love you.
Well, it's
you probably got more customers in the long run by doing that.
Yes. It's about making people happy. I mean, especially if something that they bought wasn't working, or if it was the wrong size, or it just for whatever reason it could not be fixed. So it's like
bigger fish to fry on the day after Christmas.
Make them happy. Make them happy. So at any rate, somebody says this today: returns take place at the pack and mail. I guess so. You go back, you take your boxes back to the pack and mail. Red Raider 2 Guns asked me if I got any coal in my stocking. Did not. No sticks in my stocking either.
Sticks?
Sticks is kind of a Texas thing. Sticks in your stocking?
Never.
Okay.
Haven't heard. I can't say I've heard that one before.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been in. Let's see. Yeah, been in Texas for a very long, and I don't remember ever hearing about sticks in my
Have you spent
stocking.
any Christmases outside the great state?
By outside of the great state, we visited grandparents in Tennessee and Chicago and
during Christmas time. Or
during Christmas time,
on
but
Christmas
we
Day?
lived in
Texas the whole time. All right,
Yeah.
Sticks and stocking, and then I think one time because they didn't want the cold to mess up the white stockings that my mother-in-law made for everybody. My father-in-law got like either sticks or like fake snowballs in his fake bad snowballs.
Did you get any pots?
Pots?
Well, if we're going to talk about sticks, we got to talk about pots, right?
Right. You're right.
That's the rule.
Taylor Potts and
Stephen Sheffield.
Sheffield, right. No, did not get any pots. Man, some stinkers of football.
Which one of those garbage games do you want to talk about?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, you could start with the Cowboys on Christmas Eve. Thank God church got in the way of the end of that game for me. And my son-in-law was telling me I was not monitoring the game during the Christmas Eve services, but apparently he had his watch on and he got an alert, not from us, thank God, but from ESPN that the Cowboys had won.
Oh boy.
Yeah. He got an alert.
Yeah, no.
He got an alert that the Cowboys had won. And when we got home and I was like, man, the Cowboys, he goes, what do you mean? I go, they lost. He goes,
yeah.
I got an alert that said they won. I go, well, they lost. 22-20. So they kind of stunk it up down in South Florida in Miami Gardens. The Chiefs really stunk it up yesterday for the first time in his career. He they're gonna have to go on the road in the playoffs, which a lot of teams have gone on the road in the playoffs and won playoff games and eventually gone on to Super Bowls. But this certainly doesn't feel like a Super Bowl team right now. You almost wonder if they're even going to win the division. The Chiefs, the way they looked yesterday.
I still think they're my pick to win the division. It's going to be a lot closer than what we all thought it was going to be at the beginning of the year for sure. But yeah, it's going to be a tie, and they knew that going into the week with the way the Ravens have been playing.
Mm-hmm.
The home field advantage throughout was going to be tough to get.
Yeah,
I can't believe how much the offense has fallen off for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, no question.
And it's not Pat and it's not Kelsey. It's literally everyone else.
But it's the offensive line that is completely broken down. And we talked about that all season long here with Texas Tech. The offensive line, can they protect the quarterback? They did a great job, I think, in the run game. But you talk about a wide receiver group that needs a lot of help and infusion. You could say that the Chiefs are right there with them. They fall yesterday in the early game, 20-14 to the Raiders. All right, we'll get to that. We'll talk about the Cowboys, talk about the teams that are really in contention in the NFL. Is the AFC better than the NFC now? We thought it was a few weeks ago. Maybe it isn't today. We'll get to all that this morning and your thoughts and comments, too, on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. This is The Morning Drive on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Good morning.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
On the Morning Drive with Jeff McGuire and Brendan Riker, I'm Chuck Heinz. Take your thoughts, comments today on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app. It's presented by Happy State Bank, and you can weigh in on things. Just looking at my junk mail and my phone. I know this is a scam, and you'll know this is a scam when I tell you who it came from. Lowe's is claiming that I have a late payment due. Okay,
you should reply to them as soon as you find your screwdriver in the garage. Then they can worry about the payment.
Right. I couldn't tell you the last time I was in there. Okay, and whenever I'm in there, I'm generally lost, and it's I get frustrated because I see all these people that have the ability to do it yourself, and I do not have that ability to do it myself.
Yeah. My problem is I have the ability. I don't have the location or the tools to do it. And a prime example of that happened this weekend that took like a week to get done technically. The water pump on my truck needed to get changed out.
Oh, nice.
The thermostat on my truck needed to get changed out. And the heater cord needed to be completely blown out.
Oh, man.
So that all the crud and everything that had been in there over the course of time could get out so that the heater would work
in
my truck. And the water pump, the thermostat's like $20-$30, something like that. The water pump's like another $50. It was $700 by the time we got said and done to get all of that fixed.
Yeah.
A water pump is basically 4 bolts and a gasket. Like, we're talking diggy, 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 diggy. It's off and you're done.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't even, it could be 3 bolts.
Right there on front of it's in the front of the engine block. But I don't have the right tools to get to it in a safe manner, or the garage to work on something like this where I could go back and forth on something and safely catch all of the coolant that's in the radiator so that it doesn't go down a drain and kill a dog somewhere, because I'd feel really bad about that.
Yeah.
Like, that's some of my biggest issues. I'm like, I know what this actually costs to do, and I know how much of a pain in the neck this isn't to do, but the joys of living in an apartment, folks. Let me just tell you.
That was your frustration.
But let me tell you something about the heater in the truck now. Whew.
It works?
Oh, we could cook in there.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. You needed it this morning. 30 degrees this morning in Lubbock.
It did help having a defroster and then having to pull over every 5 minutes and scrape off the window. Yes.
Yes. So if you're going out this morning and you have to go to work, the little surprise that I had this morning was there was frost on my windshield, and thankfully when I opened my trunk, it was right there, the scraper. So do keep that in mind, little man helping man this morning. By the way, the traffic on the Marcia Sharp this morning was extremely light.
You'd say that, and while the traffic was light on the Marcia Sharp, I think the loop was extremely busy.
Really?
When I got up this morning, because all I heard was sirens.
Okay.
Like, all I heard was sirens, starting about 3:30.
Okay.
And while hearing sirens for a short period of time over there isn't, like, unheard of, it was, like, constant sirens this morning. And, like, I even was like, maybe I should get going a little bit early in case I've got to find a new way to work this morning.
Yeah.
Like, it was that kind of event apparently somewhere near my apartment complex, but fortunately on the way in, it was just me and the road.
So you don't have to worry about it. I think today, the day after Christmas and the day after the 4th of July, and maybe the day after Memorial Day, those 3 days are the 3 hardest days to go to work. I think to me, the 5th of July seems to be a little bit more effort than a day like today. But, today, this whole week is all kind of messed up because it's just, it's hard to get any business done the week between Christmas and Thanksgiving. Or Christmas and New Year's, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, because it's the end of the year.
Yeah.
No one's doing any, no one's selling any advertising this week. No one's buying any advertising this week.
Watch your tongue there. I mean, there's still expectation.
The expectations are one thing, but like from a practical standpoint.
I mean, just general business, or just generally, people kind of, their brains kind of take a little bit of a hiatus, even if they're
we're under the first.
Even if they're punching the clock. All right, so going back to football yesterday.
Do we have to?
Man alive.
Because there's not a good one to talk about.
For as bad as the Chiefs played, I mean, Patrick Mahomes served up 14 points to the Raiders in 7 seconds. I mean, you had a scoop and score, and then you had a pick six, all right, back to back. I mean, essentially within just seconds of each other. And that was a wonky kind of fake handoff, fake quarterback, fumble return of 8 yards, and then the Raiders blew the extra point. I mean, that's kind of how woeful the Raiders are. I mean, they were lined up for a conventional extra point. The box score will say 2-point conversion failed. Yeah, because it was a wonky snap from center. Then the kicker just stopped there. He just froze. Like, I'm not going to kick this. And so then they tried to score, and they didn't. And then the Chiefs get the ball back, and Mahomes throws an interception, and Jack Jones runs it 33 yards. And before you knew it, it was 17-7 in the second quarter with 4:48 to go in the quarter, and the Raiders could only muster 3 points after that, and the Chiefs couldn't muster hardly anything. They got a touchdown late with 2:42 to go, but I mean they could not move the ball. They could not protect Mahomes. The Vegas quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, he was 9 of 21 for 62 yards. There was like a point in time I think he had like 14 straight incomplete passes.
Yeah, you got to imagine that the Chiefs are looking at a wide receiver in the draft. You have to, for as bad as they have been this year.
You would think so.
And go to try to go get an offensive lineman in free agency. That's what I would probably
Well, they've done
do.
that. I mean, they've been doing that. They've been getting offensive linemen in free agency. I mean, Mahomes gave every one of those guys a golf cart. I'm sure he was like, let me have the keys to those things. Let me have the keys to those things. Mahomes was 27 of 44, 235, touchdown and interception. But he threw 44 passes and only 235 yards of offense, passing-wise, for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And then for the Raiders, Zamir White rushes 22 times for 145 yards and no touchdowns.
That tends to happen in a game where you don't score many touchdowns.
Well, you scored two. You scored two thanks to number 5. I mean, that's just the way it worked out. So the Chiefs fall to 9-6. Raiders are 7-8. And if the Chiefs were if the playoffs were to start today, the Chiefs would host the Bills in a playoff game.
Boy, that'll be fun for the morning drive coming up.
And then the Bills, of course, have already beaten the Chiefs at Arrowhead. Cowboys on Sunday. I don't know what to make of the Cowboys. Is this just a team that can't win on the road? 22-20, they fall to the Dolphins.
I don't know. They've won on the road. They're not 0 for 5 on the road or whatever it is. It's just frustrating when you see them drive the field in the first quarter and fumble on the 1 yard.
Right.
That's frustrating for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a Cowboy problem. But then you follow that up where you drive the field again, you get the touchdown. That's great. And then it felt like your offense went, okay, well, we're good. Thanks.
Yeah, they go 5 plays and punt, give up a field goal to the Dolphins, 3 plays and punt, give up a touchdown to the Dolphins. Then that's the end of the half. Dolphins start the third quarter with the ball. They punt, Cowboys punt, field goal, Cowboys get a field goal, they get a field goal, Cowboys get a field goal, punt, touchdown, and then the Cowboys can't hold at the end. Defense can't hold. They give up 12 plays, 64 yards.
You can't blame that loss on the defense. The defense kept you in that game.
No doubt.
And I'm frustrated with Dak's performance because he missed some wide open receivers, but I can't blame the loss on Dak either. He was making throws most of the game. It was just nothing was working in your offense.
All right, we'll continue that. 6:25 this morning here on the Morning Drive.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hey, good morning. It is the Morning Drive. Jeff McGuire's in for Jamie. Brennan's in for Jeff. Nobody's in for me. How did that not happen? I guess it just didn't happen.
Well, normally you and Jamie don't take off on the same day.
Right.
So the fact that Jamie is off today is allowing you to be here today.
allowing
you to be here today.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to that. We'll have bowl games on the air for you today. 2 on 100.7 The Score. They'll be back to back. Start today at 1 o'clock with the Quick Lane Bowl. That features Minnesota and Bowling Green. And then the First Responder Bowl between Texas State and Rice. That'll be at 4:30. And then tonight, it'll be the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. This is a game from Phoenix, Kansas, and UNLV. That is a late start for that ball game. We'll have it at 6:30 on Double T 97.3. I show that game kicking off at 8 o'clock.
Raggy. Hang on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a 7:30 start time on Double T 97.3.
Let me see what the good old interweb says.
I'm gonna bet 7:30 for
Jeff doesn't want to have to do work today. What are you doing to me, Jeff?
Our pregame and then an 8 o'clock kick
schedule
today from the Arizona Cardinals Stadium.
Today is the 26th.
Right.
Yeah, it says 8 o'clock right there, doesn't it?
Yeah. That would 7:30 pregame, right?
We got a problem now, Chief.
Yeah.
No, it could be a 7 pregame. I don't know if those have an hour pregame or not.
Okay. Well, it's an 8 o'clock kickoff. So
time to be determined.
Yeah. Time to be determined. Tomorrow we'll have the Military Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, the Holiday Bowl, and the Texas Bowl. That's scheduled for tomorrow. I'm kind of get off the track of the NFL for a second. I'm curious when this 12-team playoff begins. I'm curious, are any of these bowls wrapped into that? And what happens to some of these bowls? Because let's face it, some of these matchups and some of these bowl games have not been ideal. I mean, when you're going to take 12, you're going to take some teams that normally would have been in potentially like Power 5 matchups, like what we had with Texas Tech taking on Cal.
Okay.
You're going to have less and less of those because of the 12-team playoff. Unless they wrap some of these bowls like name the bowl.
Name the next tier bowls after the New Year's Six. Is whatever those would be. Some of that I think is going to get wrapped in. Although we heard the stories from Shreveport about conditions at the bowl game and
like what conditions?
Like the how the press box was set up and the lack of internet connection and no heat anywhere. We heard that on the broadcast pretty much the whole time that those guys were freezing in there. That I'm finding it harder and harder to worry about the sanctity of the bowl games.
Oh yeah, no,
and I was that way to begin with, so I have yet to see evidence that I should care. I have no issue with him being roped in, and I'm not anti-bowl game, but I'll watch 5 bowl games this year. I watched the one that Tech was involved in, and I'm going to watch the 3 college football playoff ones because those are the ones that matter.
That's 4.
I guess that is 4. Well, 3. Yeah, 4. It's the 5 teams that I was the 5 teams. Those 5 associated teams. And maybe it's because I'm a pro guy first. I was watching the Cowboy game. I watched the Chiefs game. That's what I watched this weekend. The concept of and this is nothing against the Quick Lane Bowl, the First Responders Bowl, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl today. I don't care who wins the game.
Yeah,
and I don't have any skin in the game, and I have no issue with people that didn't want to watch the Independence Bowl because they didn't care if Cal or Tech won.
Right.
I completely get it, but if you can't take care of your facility enough to host a bowl game, then I don't really care if you have a bowl game.
Yeah, it's not even so much the facility. It's also these bowl games have always been glorified exhibition games. But
sure.
It did feel like up until, I don't know, the last few years that there was at least still something to play for. But now with guys going into the portal and with NIL and guys just, bailing on their teams, coaches bailing on their teams, you're almost like, why are we doing this?
Well, you're doing it because the schools still get money for it. The TV it's part of your TV contract for all of these bowl games for the conferences, and that helps you and it helps everybody else in the conference too because everybody gets a little bigger piece of that pie. And I have no issue with playing the exhibition games, but the keeping them at the holier than thou, we have to protect these bowl games kind of concept. Yeah, I'm out. And there are some that are above others, and mainly because they have placed themselves above others in their own mind, I guess they would put it, and they've taken care of themselves, that I'm less upset with. But you could take away 30 bowl games, and I don't know that anybody, well, I guess there's only 35 or so.
Well, you
could take away 10 bowl games. I don't know that anybody would notice.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you could take away the Myrtle Beach Bowl, the Celebration Bowl, the New Orleans Bowl, the Cure Bowl, the New Mexico Bowl, especially the LA Bowl. You could take away the Frisco Bowl, the Boca Raton Bowl, the Gasparilla Bowl, the Birmingham Bowl, the Camilla Bowl, the Armed Forces Bowl.
We should probably keep that one.
Probably, but I mean,
we should keep.
You might be able.
Now, I'll also say this: we can get rid of all of these bowl games until Tech doesn't make one when they're 7-5.
Well, here's
that's when it's the politics. You can take away everybody else's bowl game, but don't take away mine.
Right, but here's my point on this: is you could take away these bowl games, or take away these names, or take away these dates, or whatever, and you could replace it very easily with a 16-team playoff, and instead of the 12. And then you'd have 30. You could have you could even do more than that if you wanted to. This whole business of like I still have a problem with Florida State not being in the college football playoff when they specifically state it's because of an injured quarterback. When all we hear all year long is when somebody gets injured, next man up, next man up, next man up. That's why we have 125 guys on a roster. That's why we have 55 guys on a pro roster, because you are allowed to step up and elevate your play as a team. So I don't know. I think you're going to but the problem is ESPN owns these bowls, and they
ding 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 ding
and they use this as content for this time of year.
Congratulations, Chuck just hit it on the head.
But there is a point where the viewership will drop off as much as the fan participation has dropped off.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Next, technically, Jamie's question of the day.
Time now for Jamie's question of the day, brought to you by someone not named Jamie.
All right, Chuck, Brennan, and our fine listening audience. We haven't discussed this yet today because they've been off, but Red Raider basketball, Lady Raider basketball question coming your way. This is a two-part question,
all right,
but it's the same question for both parts. So I've tried to make this a little bit easy for everybody.
Okay.
I am giving you a crystal ball that you can look ahead to any one game on the schedule and find out if it's a win or a loss to determine whether you think Texas Tech will make their end goals of both teams making the NCAA tournament. But you only get one game. What game for the men and what game for the women would you peer into the future to know if they won or lost to make the tournament?
Okay, so your home game. This is a home game, right?
It can be home or away, whichever game you want to peek into the future and peel the curtain back to see if they win that game to know if they made the tournament or not.
Okay, you'll play home and away against Texas. I'm just kind of look at the home games because I think those are the ones that are you kind of look at and go, okay, here's your opportunity, and maybe here's your opportunity against a ranked team. So, in terms of ranked teams coming into Lubbock this year, I don't think K-State's going to be a ranked team when they come in on January the 13th. Nor is Cincinnati. So that's going to leave you with, and nor will UCF. So really, your two candidates are going to be Kansas and Texas. Even Oklahoma, you do not play them home and away. You do not play them home and away this year, if I'm looking at this correctly. You do Oklahoma State.
You play Oklahoma in Norman.
Yeah, that's it. So it's going to come down to Kansas or Texas in terms of being the team that you could beat to put you into the crystal ball. If you look at that, which game is going to have more of an impact? Texas is later in the season. It's February the 24th. Kansas is February the 12th. I suspect that Kansas will be the higher ranked team on that day, and that's going to be a Monday. I think that's a Monday. That's in February. I'm getting a little lengthy here on my answer here. I'm sorry about that.
Well, it's two parts. You're allowed.
Kansas is February the...
And keep in mind, I'm not guaranteeing a win. This is, you just get to look at this game, and that's going to be your linchpin whether you think Tech makes their
I'm going to say the
postseason.
Kansas game on February the 12th for the men.
Okay. What about the women?
Okay, so for the women, it may come down to the last game of the regular season, but the two games that potentially could swing it for you. The Texas game is your first Big 12 home game, and that's January the 3rd. And then your last Big 12 home game is against Kansas State. That's March the 2nd. So almost, 2 months apart there. I'm going to say the March 2nd game against K-State. If you win that game, that game could put you into the NCAA tournament, because I think the women are going to need to win 8 games plus maybe one in the Big 12 tournament to get themselves into the NCAA tournament.
Okay, Brennan?
I'm going to go. So both my answers for the Red Raiders and Lady Raiders, they're going to be about the same at the same time when they take place. For the men, I'm saying your game at Baylor on February 6th. That could be a big game that determines whether you make it or not. Because at that point, February is when you really start needing to get the ball rolling. And at that point, you'll probably be able to determine if you're a NCAA tournament team or not. I also think it'll be very interesting to see what you do in Waco, because last year you got swept by Baylor. And then for the women, I'm going to say February 6th in Morgantown at West Virginia, just for the same reason as the men, and that's a time of year where you start figuring out, can you make a late push for the NCAA tournament?
Okay, I think you guys have some good answers there. I really do. I am more thinking, and these just both happen to be home games that I'm looking at, but I'm trying to find a game where I think it'll be close, but that you have an opportunity to win. Maybe you should win, maybe not, but it should be a close game that could be kind of like a coin toss game. And the first one that jumps out to me for the men's team is February 20th versus TCU. If you can look at that game ahead, that'll help you figure out where you're in the standings. And I think if you're anywhere in middle up for the Big 12, I think on the men's side you should be safe. And a win there, I think, helps you get that far for the men's team. On the women's side, it can't be any of the four newcomers. Because as we saw in the Big 12 preseason poll, it was pretty much, hey, look, here's the Big 12, and then the newcomers. That's kind of everybody looked at. And when I think back to how this women's team has played in the past few seasons, kind of a good benchmark game to know how they were playing was Oklahoma State. And I'm looking at February 14th against Oklahoma State here at home. Win that game, and that makes me feel a little bit better about the rest of your schedule to kind of figure out where you're sitting. If that game had been in Stillwater, I think I would have liked it better. And I know you do play Oklahoma State again, right? You've got them twice this year, I think.
Yes, you'll play them in early January 10th.
But it's a little early for me to look at, kind of peek behind the curtain, because that's, 14, 15 days, 2 weeks from now, a little bit over 2 weeks.
I think Oklahoma State is one of those teams you may have to beat twice in order to get to your 7-8 win number in on the women's side.
And it's also how you win those games. Is this a blowout win at home? Is it a 2-point win at home? I think both of those two could be kind of circled as this could tell you something about these teams as we go forward.
I think I don't care if it's by 1 or 21. A win's a win.
Oh, 100%.
A win's a win.
A 1-point win at home could be a 5-point loss on the road.
Yeah.
Like that's where to peek behind the curtain game.
All right, 7:40 this morning. Do you have an opinion on that? You can hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app presented by Happy State Bank.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Here on the Morning Drive, some thoughts and comments from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. We'll go back to 35 minutes ago, and we were talking about Red Raider and Lady Raider basketball. This person says, I'm afraid neither will win 8 conference games.
It's a concern for both teams. I don't know as much as the men as the women right now. It was a really disappointing trip to Hawaii for the women's team. That you kind of were hoping for a split and would have loved a sweep in the positive direction, and you got the sweep in the negative direction.
Yeah.
And didn't look good in either of the two games from what we have seen them do in the rest of their schedule.
My understanding, just in a couple of texts that I've got, that the Oregon State game they played better in.
They did.
They played better in that game than they did in Tulsa. And my understanding is that that they watched a significant portion of the first half of the Tulsa game so they could critique themselves.
There was a lot from the first half of the Tulsa game that they can critique themselves on.
In other words, it was kind of one of those deals where if we're going to have to watch it, you are too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the old Jim Douglas, who works at the Alumni Association. He was a referee for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
He had a coach one time that said to him, "Hey, I want you to throw me out. I want you to throw me out." And he
I got to stay, so do you.
It's exactly what he told him. If I got to stay, so do you. And so as a result, so I and I don't know if I were to ask you this question, would you be surprised? Which one would you be surprised at winning 8 games? And I think maybe the low-hanging fruit, just depending on how much you have seen of them, just based on the recent history, you would say if the women won 8 games, that would be maybe a bigger surprise than if the men won 8 games.
Right now, yeah, but I've been so impressed with what I've seen on the men's side for how they're playing together. And listen, I'm the 100% the eye roll guy when you hear, offensive linemen say, we just do everything together, man. We go to eat together. We go to movies together. Yeah, but do you block? Mm-hmm. Do you block together? That's really what I'm interested in. It's great that you guys are friends.
The old baseball thing is that 1 cab or 25.
Right. And I'm really good. I'm really glad you guys go all out to eat together, but can you block?
I would say this about the women. I mean, they're definitely more athletic, okay? They're definitely
low bar. That's been a low bar.
Okay. But
they are better.
They are better. They are doing a better job of taking care of the basketball.
Much higher IQ this year.
No question.
Basketball IQ for the team, too.
The question is, I mean, there's teams that have really stepped it up. I mean, with Texas being a top 5 team, top 10 team, TCU being ranked, they've retooled their roster. Kansas and Kansas State, thankfully, you only have to play them once. Both those teams are going to be, top 4, top 5 in the Big 12 conference. Can you take care of business against the Houstons, the UCFs, the Cincinnatis of the world? BYU, they've been a ranked team. And so, what can you cobble it together? So, I guess if you were to say which team would you be disappointed more in if they didn't win 8 games, I think
the women. I'm more disappointed in the women because it's still Grant McCaslin's first year, and you haven't had any you've had the one injury,
mm-hmm.
but you've largely been healthy, and you're coming off a year that was such a disastrous year. You're playing together, but you're also still playing in the Big 12 on the men's side, and you could be the team that gets hot and makes everybody nervous. But it's just as easy for somebody else to be that team in the Big 12 that just gets on that one run and runs off with it. Keep the wheels on the men's team this year,
mm-hmm.
because we saw what happens when the wheels fall off last year. And they've played well. They've played I think they've played fair with regards to their opponents. They've kind of played down to some of their competition, but they've also taken care of business in a lot of those games.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a telltale sign when they get to Big 12 play how they handle those things. But keep the wheels on.
Yeah.
If you make the NIT, it's still a step up from where you were last year for the men's side. The women's team made the NIT last year, or I should say the WNIT last year. There's some expectations for them to keep moving forward.
No,
I know they've got a bunch of injuries.
Yeah.
But we've heard that every year for the last decade.
I know, and that's.
I'm tired of it being an excuse.
I know, and I'm sure that they are. I'm sure that they are. I'm sure that they are. But I think they do have the athleticism to give them a chance. They're going to have to be. They're going to have to be stronger inside or shoot the ball better from the outside. So as they're kind of taking things on in Big 12 play. But I think Saturday, you have an opportunity to go down to Houston and play there at the old Heinz. It's now called the Fertitta Center. It's the old Heinz Pavilion is where they'll play against Houston. And Houston's lost a couple of games. 2 games they've lost by big numbers. All right, a couple other things here from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. My siblings got me a signed Josh Young baseball from the All-Star game. Pretty excited about that gift.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Son and daughter-in-law came into town. We went to the Armed Forces Bowl. She's in the Army, and he is a government contractor. Great weekend. Good for you. You have to think that the way Coach McGuire has structured his coaching staff with coordinators not having a major recruiting role has to help with coaching retention. Recruiting seems like a full-time job on its own. I would agree with that. I don't know how much you would say to those guys that they aren't recruiting. I think there's been a huge investment in recruiting with, the different guys that they've added on staff, but still, I mean, your assistant coaches are going to have to be the ones that go out there, and your coordinators to develop those relationships or utilize the relationships that Coach McGuire has. And of course, Zach Kitley has his own relationships too, in terms of how long he's been, coaching in the state of Texas. So, but maybe the daily grind stuff that goes with some of those things, like just everything that goes into it. Certainly, he's gotten some extra help, but I think those coordinators would still tell you, "Oh no, we're still heavily involved in that."
100%.
Yeah, we're still out there. We're out recruiting.
They're still looking for ways to improve the team, either next year or sooner.
Yeah,
as the case may be, and that's across the board for all of these guys. Tim Tadlock included. These guys are looking at the transfer portal. Yeah. They're looking at
plenty of windshield time for all of them.
Yeah, if they're not actively you got to tell head coaches, no, you can't talk to anybody for this 2-week period. Mm-hmm. And even then, some of them do.
Love this back-to-back text here from the Yates Learning Center chat line. Vandy almost beat Memphis. We beat them like a rented mule.
We did.
And then, hold on, just because it's Grant's first year isn't a pass. There are other programs with first-year coaches that are doing better with less. That's fair, too.
It is. And I'm not, when I say a pass, have a pulse in the Big 12, because you didn't have one for most of the season last year. From year to year, Grant McCasland is not going to get fired at the end of this year.
No.
Don't let the wheels fall off and continue building your program. And for the most part, he's done that. I walked into this year going, okay, let's win a big, go back to Billy Clyde's first year. Let's win a game in the Big 12, and we're moving in the right direction from where we started. And they have played basketball like a basketball team. They're not playing as five guys trying to get theirs. It really does look like they're running an offense.
You certainly look at the number of assists that they have for a game.
They're running their offense, they're running their defense, they're playing together.
The challenge is, can they shoot well enough from
can they put the ball in the hoop, which is a question that we've asked for a couple of years. But you've got some signs of hope for the basketball team. But I'm not jumping on anybody's case this year if you'll make the NCAA tournament.
What really sucks for the men is when you see what other teams are doing with guys that were here. And you think about the old what if, with your roster.
Ifs and buts and candies and nuts, and we'll all have a Merry Christmas.
Right. No, I got you.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.